Welcome
Okay.
to Sober Shenanigans, real talk and real recovery. Hey, we're just two garden variety drunks trying to get better every day. The other alky here with me is my main man, 100 Grand Primo. What's up, Primo?
Doing good, baby. Doing good. Still sober, still funny.
Well, I guess funny is objective depending on who's listening, because sometimes it's not all that funny. But today we have two great guests, Adam David and Jason Cabello. What's up, guys?
What
How you
up?
doing?
What's
Long
happening?
time listener, first time caller.
6 foot, 200 pounds. Ding. For those that might not know, we've got Adam David here. He is the winner of season 27 of The Voice, part of Michael Bublé's team, longtime singer and songwriter. Adam, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you guys for having us. It's nice to talk to like-minded individuals. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for taking time. Let's jump right into this. Like, how do you two know each other? How did you guys meet?
So we both got clean at the same rehab. A little bit of time apart. So I went to treatment for the last time, my 20th time in treatment. Let me turn this phone off. I'm sorry. My 20th time in treatment, and to knock on wood, we went to Recovery Unplugged in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I was 42 when I got clean, so it was like, I'd done a lot of research out there and did a lot of damage. I did a 7 years in and out, so I went to my first treatment and first NA meeting in like 2010, and then just didn't take the suggestions to heart. And then so I got clean. I stayed really close to the treatment center because it was a good way it was the only thing I had. Like, I ran it till the fucking wheels went off. I had nothing. So, I stayed close. I lived in the halfway. Once I got a year clean, I started working as a tech, and then went back to school, started doing videos, and started working for the treatment center. And then a couple years after I came in, this little angel shows up, and me and my now fiance, we were on the ground floor of the marketing department at Recovery Unplugged, and I was doing the video and she was doing all the social media. And she was like, "Oh, I met this client who is really, really talented. You should check him out." And it was this guy here. And then we met when he was still in treatment. And then, yeah, the rest is kind of history.
Yeah.
So how long you guys known each other? Been over 6 years?
Over 6 years. 6 years.
Those are galvanized relationships, man. Really important ones. For sure.
Yeah. And we didn't stay necessarily close where we talked all the time, but I moved out to Austin, but I was still doing the video, so I would come to Florida every now and then. And at Recovery Unplugged, we do what's called Feel Good Friday every Friday. So it's like a concert for the clients. And
Cool.
Richie Supa, who was touring member of Aerosmith and Steven Tyler's songwriting partner and co-founder of Recovery Unplugged, he runs it Fridays in our Fort Lauderdale location. And we'll have, we have a house band, and then he'll have guests come in. And I remember coming back, and Adam was doing the Feel Good Fridays. And I think you were probably still living in Halfway at that point, maybe, or just getting out of Halfway, or no, it was a little bit later.
I think it was until I had about a year. I think I was coming in as a guest every so often, because I think there's like you can't really work for the treatment center until you have about a year. But once I hit the year, I was hired, and I was a part of the Feel Good Friday band. And basically the way it is at least in Fort Lauderdale, it's me and another singer-songwriter, Shannon, battle, and we take turns, kind of like a round almost, doing songs for a little bit of time, and then Richie comes up, and then we play songs from his recovery album. And so yeah, I mean, I've been doing it since more or less since I got clean, and but he would come every so often, and it was just, we had a cool relationship. Like you said, we didn't really talk all the time, but when we saw each other, it was an exciting, like, hey man, it's a
Right.
bond. It's a really bonding
Yeah.
thing. You see someone, you know what I mean, and it's just
Yeah.
no matter. It doesn't even matter what's going on in your lives. It's just like we have that moment that we shared. You know what I mean? And so whenever you're reconnected with somebody that you share that time with, um, it's just like an instant bond. And it wasn't really until I guess you were starting to work on a documentary,
Uh,
um, uh, which was right around the time I was starting to film stuff for The Voice, or right around the time things were starting to happen with The Voice.
It was a little bit before that too.
It was
It
before
was a
that.
little before The Voice, yeah.
And and I kind of let him know, hey, like, I'm not really supposed to talk about it yet, but I'm going to be on this season of The Voice. This was, before we started filming even. And he's like, all right, that's crazy. Like, let's keep doing this documentary then, and see where we end up. And you know, like, the best case scenario was winning for a lot of
Yeah.
reasons, but I mean, just for the sake of the documentary, like, what a better
Sure.
way to, for it to evolve than to, like, lead to, um, you know, the win. And I think what was it, like? Not that we're promoting this documentary at all, but what was the
Please.
concept? It was just like following a musician in
Yeah, because
recovery.
I wanted to
Yeah.
follow Adam, and it wasn't about like the winning or losing. It was about somebody who
It
I
wasn't about The
knew.
Voice at all.
Yeah, it
Even
wasn't really about The
really.
Voice. It was about his experience, about a person in recovery who was, he's because he's gigging a lot. So he's playing on
Yep.
Fort Lauderdale Beach, the
Yeah.
occasional. He's doing a lot of like cool wedding gigs and stuff like that too. But I mean, to keep the lights on, he's
Yeah.
playing, at
That's what I
Taco
do full
Craft in
time.
Lauderdale by the Sea. He's doing all these things where he's sort of like background music. So, and he plays his heart out. So I thought it was interesting as somebody who's so talented and growing up in the
Right.
music industry, you see a lot of people who are talented and they make it, and then you see people who are just extremely talented, and they're background noise to the conversation that people are having at the bar. So I thought it'd be interesting just to get that vantage point of it as somebody in recovery, and then going to be on The Voice. And I was like, okay, so then if he doesn't win, then we'll circle back, and like after he gets eliminated,
Right.
we'll meet up in like another 3 months, and then see where you're at now, and that'll be the
Yeah.
documentary. So
Talk about
then,
the lessons and the
yeah,
insight,
Right.
Yeah.
all the things,
but Jesus,
reframing it so you don't go crazy and
Right.
have a complete mental breakdown.
Right.
Yeah, but the underlying goal is that ultimately you guys are staying sober together, man. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like all that other stuff is just incidentals that
Yeah.
happen.
Right.
That they're all bonuses. This
Well, they
other
wouldn't
stuff.
be. They wouldn't
Is-
even be.
Exactly.
If we didn't
100%.
stay clean. Yeah. And I think you said it earlier. The idea of so many talented individuals in the creative realm, or otherwise, I guess, that wouldn't reach their potential,
Right.
if they didn't get clean. And I definitely feel that way about myself. I feel like I'm still growing. I feel exponentially,
Yeah.
that I'm growing. And you know, uh, it's all owed to putting the drugs down and
Yeah.
starting to work on what's going on inside, because that's
Yeah.
that's the other thing. That's the other thing, right? I don't think that's necessarily talked about as much as it should be, right? Um, it's getting clean is one thing, but I've always heard that the drugs were the solution. You know, oh,
Right.
your faces there. I want to talk to your faces.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm glad we can see each other, by the way, because it would
yeah,
have made it difficult over the phone. I like
yeah,
that. Because I'm feeling the
uh,
energy right now.
yeah, man. Likewise. But yeah, like, what was I saying? The drugs were the solution. You know, um, I didn't know that when I was using. That's just that's what we were doing. That was normal, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, once you put him down, or once I put him down, all the things that led me there are still there.
Right.
So it's really the work that that I put in after getting clean. And going to treatment, um, not everyone goes to treatment, and it's not a requirement, but for me, when I got clean, I wanted to give myself the best possible, like all the tools I could possibly have. And this is my first time in recovery, by the way.
Greg's a one chip wonder.
Yeah, man.
I'm not, however, I guess me and Jason have our own little battle scars.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show that, like, it doesn't matter how you get here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, whether it's 20 treatment centers or the first time, And I used to feel weird about sharing that,
Right.
Yeah.
because it feels like a brag. You know what I mean? Or it felt like a brag. And I would talk to, like, my friends, my predecessors, and they say, "No, man, that's for the people just coming in. It's their first time.
Right.
They have to know that, like, it's possible. It's not a requirement to realize it happens, and you come back if it happens. But um, it's not a requirement, and you know, uh, so. But yeah, the work after getting clean, man. That's the I like to say it's man, how do I say it? Raw dogging life.
Yeah, raw dogging reality.
We're just after raw dogging life, man.
We are
Yeah.
here, raw dog and life. Yeah.
Nice.
I remember, I think it was the first time that I went to treatment, going in and seeing all the people who met up again in treatment, because it was at a county-run facility in Broward County, Florida, and just all the people who are like, "Oh yeah, this is my like fifth, sixth time here," and I'm just like, "Well, why are you coming to? Why are you coming? Why didn't you just stay clean when you got out? Because that was me. Because I was hooked on opiates. I was in Broward County, Florida during the whole pill mill thing. So that was the people who I was
Mm.
going into treatment with.
Yeah.
All the people who kind of fell victim to that whole wave, and just seeing that, a lot of people would go in for oil changes, as we called them. They'd go in,
yeah.
they'd get clean for a couple of days, their tolerance would go down, and then they could go out and then get high again.
Man, there's a small window of time that once you hit that bottom and you're like desperate for help, and then there's the stuff we tell ourselves after that we're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I wasn't that bad. There's like this really small window of opportunity when you can reach somebody.
Yes.
I had to find that window quite a few times. And the last time it was like the window stayed open for quite a while, long enough for me to stay alive, actually, is what it amounted to. But man, it's
I think
awesome to
that
watch the recovery. That's the part that really gets me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think that's why there's so much urgency that people don't understand. Like, when you're sponsoring somebody, or you get like a 12-step call, like the urgency of it, to be like,
Right.
this person is willing for this 1 second right
Yeah.
now. This could change by the time I drive over there.
Right.
To talk about things and to see, ask me how I found my way out. Like, now it's my fucking duty. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the screwing we get for the screwing we did, unfortunately.
oh yeah.
See, it's those sayings, the dichotomy of our show is that Primo has been sober over 30 years. He's been in the program.
Oh my God.
And I'm under 3 years. So I give you the point of view of a guy who's fresh into this dealio, and he gives the seniority, all the sayings and the common sense that's hit him over 30 years. So that's kind of what our take on when we bring the show in is kind of like, hey, if you're a new guy, I can relate to you. If you're a veteran guy, he can relate to you. Either way, we're just hoping that maybe you don't drink today, which is our key saying, is no
Right.
drinks today, right?
Yeah.
One day at a time. And
So,
go ahead. Were you going to
so
say something,
Primo,
Jason?
how do you yeah, I was gonna ask Primo how you keep it fresh, and how it's because that's what always stuck out to me when, you know, I'd go to meetings, and still like with you know, 9 years now, like to go to, because I go in and out of my waves of, you know, hitting a lot of meetings and doing service work and being interested in my own recovery.
Right.
But then when you see, like, we have these people, especially in South Florida, there's a huge, you know, the NA community out there is very, very strong. AA community too, but we both work NA.
Cool.
So, you know, we see the people who, most meetings you go to, there's like 5 or 6 guys who have been there forever, and every day you'll see them at a meeting still,
Right.
and, you know, and so how do you keep it fresh, and how do you keep it like,
Dude, I'm living my best life, man. And every day I'm grateful. I wake up every day a winner. And the only because I don't go, you know, I'm not using old behaviors, you know. And some of this stuff, yeah, you
yeah,
can pull the string on my neck. I'm gonna say the same crap over and over again. But
hmm,
you know, I've traveled the world. I've had great success. I have a great love in my life. I have a beautiful child that's never seen me, you know, and people rely and depend on me. So there's a little bit of pressure too. Like this
yeah,
whole thing, you become accountable and trustworthy,
Yeah.
and people are, so those are things I wasn't. And you give that to me. And of course, I have a lot of other issues, you know. I'm like barely sober, okay? And the
mhm,
way you know what I mean? I'm not perfect, okay? I'm just gonna say, look, I'm a flawed human being. And I enjoy my insanity, but I just love life, man. And when I get an opportunity to give something back to somebody else, that means I get to have everything that I want in my life. That's the
yeah,
secret sauce that I figured out. Like I can't think about myself 124/7, and that's difficult because I do think about, but I have to put others first. And you know, I love that you guys are an artist and that you can give to people and make people smile. I was a chef. So there's something about that artistic talent that we can do and give that that's the juice that we need. You know, I mean, I'm lucky, I guess.
No,
You
you're
know,
lucky. We are
yeah,
lucky.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam, when you were doing those gigs and you were in recovery, were you having some challenges staying sober while being in those same atmospheres that maybe that you used in around the bars and stuff?
That's a great question. So, yes and no. Um, so I grew up in South Florida. I used in South Florida. I got clean in South Florida. I came back clean and played all the same places. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So there was a lot of times I was using the same bathroom, but for a
mm,
different reason.
Yeah.
poorhouse bathroom.
You know, um, and yeah, I mean, a lot of memories and stuff. And in early recovery, that was challenging at times. Um, but I'll tell you, I got out of treatment, and I don't recommend this specifically to anybody, but I got out of treatment on a Thursday. I had a gig on a Friday. I was at a wedding on a Saturday. That was hard.
Wow.
Sure.
I will
I
say
bet.
that gig on the Friday, um, my the friends that I had met in treatment that were already out came as
Nice.
support for me. Um, when I was at the wedding, I mean, I had already like I had a sponsor because like we were going to meetings. So like I had to walk out of the reception thing a couple times because I just
Mm,
felt like it was so intense.
Right.
And
yeah.
also just the social aspect of that. You know what I mean? Like,
What do I do with my
what do
hands?
I do with my hands? Let me call my sponsor and he'll tell me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, there was there were definitely moments. I wouldn't necessarily say I felt tempted to drink or use because I made this connection while I was in treatment.
Yep.
Uh, however amplified it was, like if I use again, I'm going to die. Period. Like not like eventually I'll die. Like not like if I because you know my drug of choice could kill me in the first relapse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, so I made that connection really fast. And so I got out and it was you know, it wasn't an option. You know, it's always an option, but it wasn't an option.
Mm.
And you know, so what I really think I did for myself um was I set up a really strong foundation for myself. Like I said, I got a sponsor really early, and he was my sponsor for uh the first 4 years of my recovery. I worked all 12 steps with him, and then I wanted a different perspective, and me and him are still very close, and I have another sponsor now. Um, but I was going to meetings all the time. I was living in sober living through Recovery Unplugged until I wasn't, and then I went into a different halfway, and I was in halfway for at least the first 6 months of my recovery. So you know, I was living in halfway playing gigs, you know, and you know, I was doing service, I was chairing meetings, I was doing H&I. Um, you know, I was very. You told me to do it, man. I was done. I
Yeah.
wanted to do
Yeah.
every possible thing that I could do to
Right.
not go back.
Yeah.
Like that was, you know, and I just want to circle back to like, yes, this is the first time and the only time so far, hopefully, that I've been to treatment and gotten clean. But it was not the first time I tried to stop using.
Okay.
It was just the first time I asked for help.
F-
You know what I
formally.
mean?
Yeah, formally. I got you.
Yeah, yeah, because I couldn't get through the day. You know what I mean? If I had to do anything besides lay in bed, I needed my drug of choice. If I had to
Wow.
get out of bed and get the mail, I I, I could not function. I just put timers on my phone, you know, just so that I wouldn't like run through the bag too fast. You know, which
Did that work out?
no, it
Okay.
didn't work out. You know,
Thought he
so
found a way.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely did not work out. I used to make lists for when I would get the urge, when I would try to stop and I would get the urge to use. I made a list of things so I could pull up the list and like see, okay, what could I do instead? Like what, you know, what do I like to do? Which I probably made the list like high also. Like, you know, oh, let's make this list. Yeah, let's get
Right.
into it. You know,
Number 2,
And-
get high again.
Before and afters. Yeah, I love it.
right. There was only one thing I wanted to do. And I remember so vividly that like that clouded like thought process of like the I could not think past I need the thing. I need it. I could not think past that. And I remember finally getting clean and having those feelings, but waiting past it. And then you get past it a couple times, and then you're able to see far enough and remember that you can get past that cloud. And I think after I had experienced that a few times, um, it was just like, I mean, now it's not so challenging, and I mean now I have a lot of tools that
Yeah.
I still use. I mean, you know, I'm in the industry. I mean, in I've seen my drug of choice right here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And countless times, you know, and it's not. I think I've heard a lot of people say this. What I've done in my recovery, like would make someone use or relapse or whatever.
Sure.
And you know, but uh, it's the serenity prayer. You know, you control what you can, and you got to let go of what you can't, and you got to make the changes. Um, you know, where you can. I think that was redundant.
That's
But
okay. It's good.
You
No,
know, what's
you
what's
Yeah.
interesting though, I will say this is that people start to respect the fact that you're sober too. You know, and they won't, and
Sure.
that stuff doesn't surface as much in your circle because that's where the anonymity is good and bad. And I think it's important. Hey man, I'm flying this flag. I'm flying this flag, you know, because it's about my life, you know, and I'm not doing it for anybody else. And
right.
I think that, you know, there's every industry or people will definitely, excuse me, my battery's getting low, so I'm going to plug in here in a second. But
Yeah.
how important that is that you find that group of people, that squad. It sounds like you have.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
Well, I'm
you got-
proud as shit. I
Yeah.
talk about it, man. If I was given the opportunity to talk about it on live TV, I would.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously all here talking about it on in a
Right.
public forum,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So it's I think, to my knowledge at least, I don't have the background that Primo has, but the things have changed, and I know, back when this whole thing was formulated, there was a huge shame in it, and there was a lot of anonymity around that, but you know even in my 9 plus 17 years of like going to meetings and stuff, I've seen a big shift in it to where it's like, you know people publicly are talking about it a lot more. There's a lot more support of it. There's a lot more awareness of it. And and I think where I think it's interesting when you see like the celebrities who will talk about their sobriety and
Oh,
stuff like
you're
that.
back.
hey,
Go ahead.
see,
Because
that-
I was doing a documentary with this guy, and I'll leave any of the specifics of him out of it, but he was so just like screaming from the mountaintop about his recovery, sobriety, and then he relapsed, and then like, why are people talking about this shit? Why are people talking about it? And it's like, well, because you fucking, you made yourself like Captain Recovery on top of the mountain, and people, respected that, and then sort of publicly, fell from grace, and all of a sudden now wanted his anonymity. So I think, it
Mm.
people have to be extremely careful, and that's why we all say whatever program we work is, we're not a representative of,
Right.
because that could
Yep.
be very dangerous.
Yeah, I know personally, I didn't mind and don't mind telling people, especially if they ask me or anything like that, because I think it puts a little more pressure isn't the word, but it holds me more accountable to more people.
Yeah.
And I have no desire to take on that challenge of being the most wasted guy wherever I'm at, or even trying to slide it in there. Or I'm tired of waking up and planning the day around my blackout. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
if I worked, and this is an old saying, but if you work as hard as anything else as I did at sneaking my getting wasted, I'd probably be great at whatever it is that I wanted to do instead. But it's easy for everybody to say. It's
And then after you got sober, I'm sure you found out that you weren't, your sneaking didn't matter because everybody fucking knew.
it's so funny.
That's what happened with me. Like, I remember telling, like, the first couple times I went to rehab, I'd see some friends and they'd be like, "Oh, what's going on?" I'm like, "Listen, man, I had a really bad drug problem." Like, "Oh, we fucking
Yeah,
know."
no shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah. Nobody was like,
Yeah.
I said, "Hey,
Exactly.
I
It's like,
quit
"What?
drinking and
How'd you
stuff." And
find
they're like,
out?
"Oh,
Somebody
good."
tell you? And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And like I can smell it from a block away now, which makes me feel like I can't believe I thought I was fooling anybody with Visine or whatever it was,
Yeah.
spray. Exactly. Only people we were fooling was ourselves. And it's great to be free of that. One thing that we try to point out on this show is what a great life hack sobriety is. Because a sober life is a life where you can feel and live, and you're totally free to do whatever you want every day, because you're not bound by that thing that kept us as a slave. I know that I had to pretty much almost lose everything before I finally took the steps to get in and ask for help. I was wondering if you guys, was there a single thing that happened that one last time that you said, "This is it, now I got to get help"? I mean, I tried stopping drinking and drugging many times on my own. And it wasn't until in my particular case that, my wife was going to leave, and the kids, they were done. Finally, they stood up and they were like, "This isn't the life we want. So we're out of here." And I was like, "Give me one more chance."
There was
And I called AA out of the phone book or after Google and jumped in, as like
Right.
Adam said, man, I that's when I bought in 100%. I'm like, I'm out. I mean, I'm into this new life because I don't want to lose anything that I have left. And so I was just wondering if there's something maybe that you guys had happen right before you came in that told you finally, this is it, I'm done.
There was so many times that I asked for help. It's hard to say that there was a difference between what I felt, because every single time I went to treatment, like, I had the desire to never use again. I never, maybe towards the end, I went in to try to just do like an oil change and stuff like that. But
Sure.
there was a hope in me every single time that I did it, that that things were going to be different. But then I share this a lot because I heard it was Jake the Snake Roberts on a podcast talking about how he would
Nice.
go into treatment. He would go into treatment, and then he would be the guy, like, always raising his hand in group. Like, instead of playing cards, he'd be like, "Hey guys, let's do like some step working.
Yeah.
Let's have a little meeting before the meeting and stuff like that," and be that fired up about it. And then the second he would hit the door, and it was like he was telling my story, that the disease would say, "That was fucking great. Let's get one more, and then we'll start this recovery thing." And that was a 7-year one more for me. So very hard to say that my desperation was any different this last time, but it was just like I was my mom would let me stay at her house if I was trying to get clean, which is something that I could sucker her into every other time. But I was you know essentially living in public bathrooms and getting high. You know what I mean? My world was as big as what I could fit into my syringe. That was it. And
Wow.
then I think I had just stripped away everything other than that. Like, I had all of my belongings in like two garbage bags. I was, in my early 40s. I had nothing. Absolutely no bank account, no driver's license, no prospect of getting any of that stuff. So I think when I finally got clean, um it started in a detox. So I went to Fort Lauderdale Hospital, which is the only time that I went there, which was a psych hospital.
Mm.
And I went in thinking, like, I know how to work the system. I've been to treatment, like I said, 20 times. So I know how to get in, I know how to say the things, I know how to do whatever. And then they just told me, like, listen, we don't have any room for, we don't have any indigent beds right now. So I was like, oh shit, okay. And I was just so broken and so done bullshitting, even myself. Like, I was done with my own bullshit so much that, like, I got up to leave, and the guy stopped me, and he was like, "I know you know the game here." You know what I mean? Like, you're in a psych hospital, like,
Yeah.
kind of waiting for me to tell me that I'm going to kill myself if I
Right.
don't leave. You know what I mean? If they don't let me in, he was, and I was just like, and he was like, "Listen, man, I'm in recovery. Sit down. Let me." And he got me a bed, and then I got a scholarship to Recovery Unplugged. So there was just this different, and maybe it was just because it was a new place, but it was like these people who were actually putting themselves out for my getting better, that I felt like I would really be insulting these people if I did not give this one an honest chance. So that was the only, like, I had done it enough to know what not to do. So, at least I had that, because all the times I was in treatment, like, I would hear somebody coming in with, oh my God, if somebody came in with 30 years of recovery, I would have just slept, because that is such a fucking fairy tale that has nothing to do with me. Like, even somebody with 3 years, I was just like, oh, I can't relate to this fucking guy. Like, you know what I mean? That was just so beyond my scope of understanding. Like, I needed to hear
Right.
the guy who got out of treatment a week ago and is still clean. Like, that might have gotten my attention. So just knowing, like, what I didn't want to go back to, and, like, it was really starting anew, and having you know destroyed everything else in my life, it was easy to have nothing to go back to. So for me, it was just like, I really did have to just run it to the fucking ground. But then all of my little milestones and successes felt so fucking wonderful. Like, when I got my driver's license, oh my God, I really think me getting my driver's license felt like more of an accomplishment to me than recently like buying a house in Austin. You know, like
Yeah.
which is like if somebody would have told me they bought a house or got a lease on an apartment, I would have been like, this fucking guy. Like I can't
That's-
relate to that.
It's big. Driver's license are big, man.
That was it. It was the little fucking things that did that, like getting a job, getting the paycheck, and not spending it on like a new tattoo or fucking, you know, whatever it is. Like putting it towards getting my driver's license back or, you know, putting a down payment. Like those little things were so like, so this is like adulthood. So like it took me to into my 40s to feel like a responsible like 20-year-old.
You're a
And,
citizen now. You're a citizen.
Fuck. That's
Welcome.
incredible.
Welcome aboard.
I'm here.
It's amazing. It's a great story.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, you know, we get to hear these triumphs, you know, and I know so many people that have become rock stars, no pun intended, in their lives, you know what I mean? And their own personal journeys, man. And it's like, wow, I'm so blessed to be and honored to be exposed to it. And the people that I was hanging out with, they weren't delivering the goods. You know,
Right.
they weren't examples for me that I needed to get to be where I'm in today. I mean, which is I still think I got room to grow. You know what I mean? Every day I have room to grow. So I love this thing. Love it. Love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, I saw that you celebrated 6 years while you were on the show. What was that like?
Yeah, March 28th was my 6th year. I think the way that the show worked was, you know, we filmed a lot of things prior, right? So things aired in February, but we filmed them earlier. So I think when we started filming, I had just celebrated 5 years. And
Hmm.
then right after it aired in February, I celebrated 6 years. And I threw a concert the last since uh for my 4-year anniversary I started doing I just for my on my 4 year I wanted to do something like to celebrate, and I put on a concert and I invited a bunch of people,
Sweet.
and a lot of people showed up, and so I was like, oh wow, okay, let's keep doing this, right? Because this feels better than like playing at like the bars and the restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
And I made some goals from there, and I started putting on a concert once a quarter that year. And then for my 5th year, I did another concert, and my goal was to do one a month. You know, and it's a lot more involved in, you know, find the venue and you're promoting it, and you know, there's a lot more involved than just doing like the gigs and stuff. But it was exciting and scary.
Sure.
But it felt good, you know, at the end of the day, like to perform for people that are there to see it. And uh you know, and then we started filming stuff for the voice. So, you know, I didn't keep going with the once a month thing because I couldn't. But when I did it for my 6th year, that was the first time that we sold out. So it was at this place called the Savoy Cinema in Fort Lauderdale, and it's formerly known as the Cinema Paradiso, which is kind of like a
It's like an art house movie theater, but
yeah,
it's
like a
they'll do live music and stuff
kind of
there.
historical,
Yeah.
like around town though. And I think it's a 250 seat theater. I think we sold about 300 tickets. That's the most
Oh,
uh tickets I've ever sold. You know, and just like a pack, like it was like it was standing room. I mean, there really weren't any seats left, and it was just a really really special night. And I got to have. So I used to work at School of Rock. I used to teach a bunch of different instruments, and so I was able to have them as the opener. Like they have this, they have like the you know, the top tier students that try out to be in the house bands is what they're called, and uh, I was able to have them as the opener. So it was like this full circle thing for me, and you know, that was just a really special thing. But yeah, I mean, it's the last couple years have been really surreal, um overwhelming, scary, terrifying, um, you know, and ultimately just like a lot of growth.
Yeah.
I've been saying it a lot lately. Like I feel like I'm 100% out of my comfort zone, like at all times, and I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with that. I think maybe just acknowledging it has been helpful to like, kind of like step one, like accepting it. Um,
Yeah.
and also kind of be grateful for it because I think there's this ratio of how much out of your comfort zone are you and how that translates to growth, how fast, you know what I mean? There's something that I wanted to say earlier. Um, the whole concept of just for today. I remember realizing, right? Because at first it's just for today, you're not using, right? Just for today, just make it to your pillow. Um, but I, I, I don't remember when I realized this, but at some point I realized, like, wait, like you could apply that to like anything, and not just like abstaining from a thing, but what about goals? Make some goals, and then what can I do just for today that pushes me towards those things, right? So if the ultimate goal is, I don't know, maybe maybe it's to buy a car, maybe it's to get your license. You know what I mean? Like that's the
Absolutely.
goal, right? How do you work backwards from it
Yeah.
and apply this just for today concept? And when I realized that, I think that's when my like getting clean uh transformed into like, I'm like really starting to get my life back. And I have a friend. I always hear her voice in my head. Um, like, uh, well, the way she talks about it is different, but uh, you know, uh, this is going to be maybe controversial the way I'm going to say it.
Nice. Bring it.
Bring it.
She says this referring to people who get clean and they're just at meetings 24/7,
Mhm.
right?
I like it.
So she's like, I didn't get clean to go to meetings. I got clean to live a life, to get my life. You
Yeah.
know. So, just like anything else, it's finding this middle ground of like if it's making your life unmanageable, then it's making your life unmanageable and it needs to be adjusted. And so I hear her voice in my head, where I got clean to like live a life that I want, and we get this power, like, and you talked about it earlier, Stoff, am I saying that
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You said it earlier, you know and I lost my train of thought. There it is.
You can attract people. That's like the attraction rather than promotion thing. You're out there living, showing that you're a person in recovery who could do things, and maybe that's not where you were going with it.
Well, there are people that hide out in the program versus living their life. You know what I mean? It should be a part
The
of,
freedom.
yeah, it should be an extension of us. It shouldn't be us. Going to a meeting is great, but there's 23 hours or of the day that you have to face the rest of the world. And I see people hiding and not doing the work, and I don't have a problem. Well, I have a problem watching them die. You know what I mean? So I don't mind saying something, and it's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I've been around long enough to see a lot of people do the shenanigans, and
Ah,
and it's like, hey man, you can have fun, but you got to you got to do this thing the right way, man, if you want to get the results. Sounds like
Yeah.
you got, and it's okay. It's controversial or not, but it's more controversial to see somebody die
Yeah.
and not say anything.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
with all due respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got clean in 2016, so it was like I had gotten a couple. I had overdosed a couple of times on fentanyl, before fentanyl was the product, when it was just and it was just getting mixed in with things. And the amount of people that I have known and lost since getting clean is just, I mean, we all live in this world where loss is just you know, a daily part of our lives now. And we have, where Adam and I went to treatment, they have this, because I got clean in June, so I was there for July 4th. I was still in treatment, and we had signed this thing. It was like the Declaration of Independence of from active addiction or whatever it was called. But everybody who was in treatment at that time signed it. And like they
Right.
still have it above the tech office at Recovery Unplugged in Fort Lauderdale. And there's like 45 signatures on there. And there's, I think, less than 9 of us that are still alive.
Wow.
You know, so every time I go in, I see that, and you know, I usually will share at the alumni meeting there, or take a meeting in, like do an H&I meeting when I'm
Sure.
there, because I love, you know, I love talking to the people. It reminds me of where I came from, and you know, I get to see where I slept and everything like that. But I always see that, and it always just reminds me, like, God, that's, you know, I could have easily just been one of those names that didn't make it.
For sure. I brought a mug of, this is the guy that I met in my treatment center 33 years ago.
Pull it up a
My
little
best,
bit. It's over your name.
how's that?
There we go.
This is my best friend that I met in rehab. Also the best man at my first wedding. And I lost his Yeti mug a few years ago, and he got a big resentment. So I honor him by putting his face on this on this mug. But you know, it's important. You know, when I see you two guys, I kind of reminded me of the relationship that I'm having with my buddy, and we're apart. He's in the Keys, and I love him, and he's grown up to be a fine person, and helps everyone. Unbelievable giver of everything he has. And I
Yeah.
learned a lot. I learned a lot from him, but you know, as I learned from everyone that I run into, being a sponge and being teachable is so critical.
And Adam was one of the people who I got to see the light go on for. Maybe
Yeah.
not that moment, but my first interaction with him, it was at like this family group. And it was because we were, the counselors wanted us to film it, you know, with everybody's permission, because they wanted to film it to start, you know, it was the first one that they did, so they wanted to film it to see how it went and see what they could do. They could, you know, critique themselves on it. So I'm in there with my camera, and I still have the footage, and I have footage of Adam, and he is just like, has a beanie pulled down, dark shades on, is just sitting there like this the
Nice.
whole time, and just,
Angry.
you know, just yeah, just not wanting to be there. And then I remember like a couple months later, just seeing him like laughing, and you know, just
Yeah.
just be like a burden was lifted off of them. So that's always amazing when you see, you know, you see somebody how they were to how they, what is possible. And you know, that always amazes me. That's my favorite part of this whole thing, is when you see somebody who, you know, it's hard to not, you know, you don't outwardly say anything about it, but you see people and you're just like, oh, this guy's never gonna fucking make it, you know. And then
Right.
you see them change, and then see like something happen to them, and man, isn't that amazing?
It's
Like,
it's a it's a
so
benefit for sure. I hope that you know, obviously everyone's had great successes is just from not drinking, but you know that the balance of life, and finding balance in your day-to-day life and everything in your journey is something that you know, that I'll be wishing for you guys. I'm gonna now watch your journeys. Okay, this is what happens, and you know, and I'm blessed for that. But it's what's a tool that I have used. You know, so
Yeah.
I
Well,
I have two
go ahead.
things. I remember
sir.
what I was gonna say.
Nice.
Thank you.
So, and then the other thing, hopefully I don't forget.
we'll start with the one
I'm
before
gonna
you
start with
forget
the one
again.
before I forget. So stuff you had mentioned, like, you know, not having to schedule your life around like being blacked out. And like that's the thing that I was kind of like uh talking, you know, that's what I was referring to, you know what I mean? Like waking up and feeling the possibilities. What am I gonna do today? And then wrapping that into the, well, now I have goals that I'm working towards, and what am I doing just for today to reach them, you know? so simple and yet just so slippery. And then the other thing I was gonna say was sometimes I don't get them back, and it's like holding in a sneeze.
Yeah.
You remember an hour later.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
In,
Oh, let's
in
go.
bed at 4 a.m.
So the other thing I was gonna say was, so I remember that moment that Jason was just talking about, and in that moment specifically, it was less anger and more just like feelings in general, because I was there with my mom. We're like talking through the things, and it's like, the tears are coming, and it's just like I still like I hate the feelings, man. They're such a blessing. What's the cliche is,
The good news is you get your feelings back. The bad news is you get your feelings back.
man, it's I remember them starting to come back. I remember the color starting to come back in and being so overwhelmed by it. And like, you know, uh I among other reasons, like I definitely was numbing myself like purposely because of how I had to have been like
Yeah.
because of how overwhelming uh I I feel,
Yeah.
you know, and uh I like to whenever I'm sharing to like newcomers or whatever, I like to talk about it like this. I think of feelings like colors. You know what I
Nice.
mean? And there are shades that I don't know yet still. Um and so like, blue, sad, red, angry, whatever. There's like these primary colors that we learn like early. And then as we're getting older, there are these really strange, really subtle different shades of those colors that are mixed with other feelings and emotions that at some point I just started to turn off and not even try to understand, right? So as they're all coming back, what I've been learning um is when a color when I'm feeling a color that I don't fully understand, instead of like needing to label it because it's uncomfortable to not know the color. It's uncomfortable to just, I don't know what this is, so I don't know how to respond to it.
Sure.
That's uncomfortable, right? And if I identify it as a color that I just don't know yet, and I know that if I give myself time, like I'll learn what it is. Uh,
Sure. Absolutely.
there's some peace with that, and I've given myself that chance a few times, just like wading through the fog. You know what I mean? I've seen the other end now, so I know it's there if I wait. You know what I mean? And that's helped a lot. That analogy
Nice.
helps me a lot.
That's deep. Deep. And artistic, by the way. I like the artistic twist on it. But that's how we identify things in our own the wiring that we were given,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and then learning how to use that wiring to our
Right.
advantage.
Right.
I imagine when you have the guitar in your hand and you're doing your thing, it's like you're not even, it's just it's a different peaceful place for you, right? I'm sure.
When my head's not loud,
Yeah, the
it, it,
noise.
he's
Yeah,
seen me.
yeah.
He's seen me there. I don't
Head
know if he
trash.
recognizes it as it's happening. Maybe he does now, but
When you're in your head or when you're not in your head?
well, when I'm playing and my head is loud,
Oh yeah, I see it.
um,
Oh, I see. Yeah, I could see that. I don't
Literally.
even know if there's no way I could do it. I might have way too much
it's
chatter.
a bully, man.
Yeah.
It's oh, you sound like shit. Oh, they know you sound like shit. Like, oh, they're thinking like, oh, this guy won. Oh, well, just fucked. Um,
Like,
and
oh, this is my last show.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
said that verbally out loud. You know what I mean? Yeah, for Bring It On. I don't know if you guys watched the season I was on, but there was one of the songs I did, "Bring It On Home to Me,"
Ah,
and I didn't like it, and it was a bit out of my comfort zone. I mean, it's a blues, but just the song in particular, I just wasn't really feeling it initially.
is that not Led Zeppelin?
Bring It On Home to Me is oh my gosh,
Maybe I'm showing my age.
Motown, Sam Cooke.
Okay, well,
Yeah. Um, uh, and so it's it's an older blues
okay.
thing, and we changed it and made it my own and whatever. But I wasn't feeling it, and literally the night before the live show of it, um, I had called Jason, and I was just like, man, this is my last one. I I'm not making it through this one. I think that this is it.
Meet me
You
in
know,
Florida day after tomorrow. We'll be there.
yeah,
Right.
it's
You
gonna
can finish your documentary there.
just totally, but like a bit of that was surrendering. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there was something about how I got into the fuck it headspace, um, which I call it. I know when we say the fuck it's like not necessarily a positive connotation, but the way I'm using it right now is I got into this fuck it headspace of like, fuck it, it's my last one. I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna do my best, and that's it. You know what I mean? And it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a counterintuitive way of getting to that place of like, I'm just gonna do my best,
Yeah.
you know, and let go of the rest. And I mean, in this particular scenario, it worked out, but um, but yeah, I mean, when I'm playing, it can be a very peaceful place. When I'm playing by myself, when I'm playing alone, yes,
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
My
All
kid's got a guitar, and he wrote a couple of songs after a breakup with a girl or something. I don't have zero. I have zero talent, but I watch my son, who is talented in some respects, and but I know that's his place. He can,
Yeah.
and I can't be there with him. It's something weird, but I wish I could be there to do something and give it to him. But no, man, that's his own little area of
very special thing.
yeah.
So
I know you get
the-
it. I don't. I just see it.
I'm sure you have a room where you go. You know what I mean? I'm sure you do.
So
Yeah.
now as Adam's manager, I get to see the light go on when all of the insecurities and the stuff is stripped and he has an amazing performance, and getting to see him in that zone. That is why I do this, because it's like, when I get to see that and get to see him just fucking like, he is just so in it. He's using the energy of the crowd back. He's using all of his negative energy to like use it to fuel him on that. I get to see that shit and I'm like, fuck, we're in this together. Like we
Yeah,
did
that's
it. But because a lot of it with the voice stuff, and thank God I've sponsored a lot of guys, because it really prepped me for the relationship that we have.
right.
Because with Michael Bublé as his coach, like Adam is a great natural talent, but Michael Bublé as a coach is going to coach him how to win the voice, right? He
Right.
might not coach him to do the best song that suits what Adam wants to do right now, but he is going to coach him to win that. So we came up with, did you do your NA stuff today? And you listen to that, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, did you do your Bublé stuff today? And listen to that. So he had his own spiritual program called Bublé during
Nice.
the voice, and he still does. Michael Bublé
Yeah.
has been a huge supporter to him, and they talk
Yeah.
all the time, and it's
Yeah.
just it's been
Definitely on my playlist. That cat
Yeah.
got a bunch on my
Dude,
playlist.
awesome.
Greg was a recording artist, by the way. I don't know if you guys know that.
no.
Mustaf here, excuse me. He's very humble. I'm sorry I brought it up.
He
But-
loves to bring it up.
I do. I'm actually proud of him. I'm not sponsoring him or anything, but my co-host here is definitely got a history.
Yeah, I was a rapper back in the 90s. I toured,
Nice.
opened for Run DMC and
Really?
Like
Wow.
that. Yeah.
What part of the 90s we talking?
Well, I signed with Capitol Records in 92.
Oh,
and,
wow.
I bailed out in 98. Because we were more out of the Tribe Called Quest, peace, love, and hip hop type of genre. And
That
everything flipped in 97 to,
Yeah.
Thug Life and stuff like that. And I actually had friends that were like, and actually my manager, who happened to be a mobster in Tampa, they told me, they said, they're not going to sign you again unless you become more gangster. You need to talk about thug. And I'm like, but
Yeah.
that's not me. I didn't know. And Adam, you guys know this. There's a lot of actors acting like singers and rappers and such. And I just didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I thought I'm just gonna be Stoff, and I like hooping, I like chicks, and I like partying. I don't like shooting anybody or any of that
Right.
BS. And so
that-
that's kind of when I got out, really.
But that was the golden era of hip hop, and as far as I'm concerned, because I was a skater, so I was very much into graffiti and hip hop, and in
Cool.
'92 that was my we probably ran across some of the same crowds, especially if you were up in Tampa. I was going up there a lot too for skateboarding.
Yeah.
Um,
Any major rap act that came through
you
this
were the
area,
guy.
we opened for.
Yeah.
So, and there was some highlights, which I wish I could remember better. I actually think I was the first guy that Will Smith threatened to slap when I
Oh.
Jive sent me out to LA to hang out with him for a weekend on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air show. And I'm, of course, unfortunately wasted.
Yeah.
And I tell him,
Jive the magazine or the record label?
Jive the record label.
Mhm.
And I unfortunately tell him, I go, the one thing that your show is missing is a funny white guy. He goes, oh yeah, where do I find one? I go, right here. And he says, well, how do I get you on the show? And I go, well, I play ball, you play ball. Let's say we're playing against each other and your cousin falls in love with me, and then you hate that because you love your cousin. And he goes, oh, you mean so-and-so cousin? And it was the older one. And I'm half in the bag. I'm like, no, the other one. And it turns out, yes, it turns out that in real life, she's like 17 and he thinks of her as a little sister, and he flips on me in the green room and is like, well, that's the first time that we kill a guy on my show.
Oh shit.
And dude, let me tell you, we had video of the whole thing, and my partners loved to bring that up
Oh
to
wow.
get at me, and I burned that video. And it's just another example of wasted opportunity because I was wasted.
Mm.
So Primo loves to bring up those days. I don't always.
He should have
love to
been
bring it up.
slapping Chris Rock. Okay, that's the way I look at it. But it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, who knows? If I'd have gotten sober, it probably would have ended up different. But anyway,
Listening to the story, just to be fair with you, it just sounds like you picked the wrong sister.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I picked the wrong cousin. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
I picked the right one. Me and him are buddies. Who the hell knows?
Choose your own adventure.
Right.
Exactly.
That is funny.
Well, listen, it's been great having you guys on. For our listeners, if you're having a tough time quitting, whatever it is that you need to quit, you're not alone. There's apps and numbers and groups in your town, or you can call us if you want, 727-294-4933, or hit us up on Facebook. Taking that first step into a room or a chat or a group with people trying to get better just like you will be the best day of your life. Primo, do you got a final point for today's show?
You're always kicking it to me. And today, man, I am just, it's going to be about friendship, man, and fellowship and just the camaraderie of what we get here and the people that come into our lives and cherish it, man. You know what I mean? Like I this morning, I thought a lot about the grace of the many people that I've been blessed to be around in my life. And so today's just another example of that. And, so that would be it. Friendship, man.
Awesome. Well, Adam and Jason, speaking of two great friends that get along and do things great together, do you have any final advice or words for someone out there maybe struggling today?
I know he kicks it to me. It sucks.
Just keep going. It's if you're still alive, you still have the chance. If all of us sitting here can get clean and sober and do what we're doing, and then anyone can. So that's
Yeah,
what
I always say if Adam could get clean, anybody. No, but
example.
honestly, like seriously, the two biggest parts of my recovery, my very early recovery, like day one was accept the help that I asked for. So if you're at the point where you ask for help,
Right.
accept it,
Yeah.
because that's the only way it's going to work. And you know, for me, and even in my everyday life now, even in my role as Adam's manager now, like I have people in my life who I could call and be like, I don't know what I'm doing here and I'm scared. Like this is scaring me. Like if being able to admit that when it happens and not, you know, try to manipulate everything and just being honest about needing help is huge.
Man.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah. You know, so thanks for listening to Sober Shenanigans, real talk and real recovery. You know, worry, anxiety, and fear, it's all up in here. So give yourself a break. You're enough and you're doing great. I'm Stoff and he's Primo. And always remember, no drinks today.